Shades of War by Sebastian Winters. The air reeked of iron and burnt flesh. It clung to Luca's nostrils, as if war had seeped into the very pores of the city. Florence lay fractured under the tyrant's thumb, and though Luca's hands were stained with pigment, it was the blood of battle that haunted him. He crouched over his easel, brushing crimson strokes onto the canvas, trying to drown the memory of war in art, but every stroke only deepened the ache in his chest. Outside, boots hammered the cobblestones like a drum beating for a bloodletting. Soldiers, faceless in their helmets, marched through the narrow streets as if the city itself would fall in step. Their presence was a dark cloud looming, an omen. Luca's fingers tensed, the brush trembling in his hand. His studio felt too small, the air too thick. "Can you hear it?" Jacopo's voice cut through the tension, light and almost playful, like the war beyond their walls was some distant fiction. He sat in the corner, polishing his shoes, worn and tired, just like them. Luca shot him a glance, unable to suppress his disbelief. "You're still on about those damn shoes?" "They'll make me faster," Jacopo said with a grin, holding up one scuffed sole. "Might even outrun death, if we're lucky." Luca bit his lip. He could smell death, not the faint, lingering odor of past battles, but fresh, imminent. It swirled in the air like a violent storm on the horizon, the scent mingling with the musty earthiness of Florence's old stones. Jacopo, forever the optimist, always had something to hold on to, something that kept the darkness from swallowing him whole. His shoes, his dreams. "I dreamt of wheat fields again," Jacopo said, tying the laces as if it were the final touch to make him invincible. Gold as far as the eye could see. I could smell it on the wind, feel it brush against my skin. Luca's grip on the brush tightened. "That farm's long gone, Jacopo, buried under the same rod as the rest of us." Jacopo didn't flinch. "It's still there. You just have to dig deep enough." Luca opened his mouth to argue, but the words died on his tongue. What was the point? He needed Jacopo's hope, no matter how foolish. They were both lost, but at least Jacopo had a beacon in the dark. Luca was just adrift, sinking. A knock rattled the door. Luca's heart seized, the sound of it like the crack of a whip. Jacopo was already on his feet, answering before Luca could stop him. The door creaked open to reveal a gaunt figure, face hollowed by war, eyes darting as though even the walls had ears. "The commander sends word," the messenger rasped, voice trembling under the weight of his news. "Another offensive, at dawn." Luca's stomach churned. The studio, with its soft light and the smell of paint, felt suffocating now. Another battle, another march into oblivion. He could almost hear the screams already, the wet, gurgling cries of men bleeding out in the dirt, the thud of bodies hitting the ground. "Tomorrow? That's suicide," Luca muttered, his voice raw, barely concealing the fear gnawing at his insides. His hand reached for the window frame, knuckles white, as if he could grip onto anything to keep him from falling into the abyss. Jacopo nodded at the messenger. "We'll be there." Luca whipped around, disbelief crashing through him. "We'll be there? You've lost your mind." "We fight," Jacopo said, his voice steel beneath the smile. "It's all we have left." "There's nothing left to fight for," Luca spat, his chest heaving with the effort to contain his rage, his terror. "The war's over. The tyrant has won. We're just ghosts chasing the past." Jacopo's eyes, once soft with hope, hardened. "As long as we breathe, we fight." The silence after those words hung like the edge of a blade, sharp and ready to cut. Luca looked at him, truly looked at him, and saw a man ready to die, not with fear, but with resolve. A man who would walk straight into the jaws of death and smile while doing it.
Luca's breath hitched. "And those shoes of yours?" he asked, his voice bitter, desperate. "You think they'll save you from cannon fire?"
Jacopo shrugged, pulling the laces tight with a grin that shouldn't belong in a world so broken. Maybe they will.
Dawn came like the slow drag of a blade across flesh, every second a reminder of what was coming. The streets of Florence, usually alive with color and movement, were deathly still. Luca's footsteps echoed as they marched, the sound swallowed by the oppressive silence of the city. Luca could taste the fear now, acrid and sour at the back of his throat. Every breath felt like inhaling ash. His heart raced in his chest, a drumbeat that matched the sound of the soldiers' boots. He glanced at Jacopo, who moved with a strange serenity, as if the weight of war had never touched him. The battlefield stretched before them, a barren wasteland of bodies and blood, the sky heavy with the promise of more death. The tyrant's forces loomed in the distance, an unstoppable wave crashing against what little hope remained. Jacopo, beside him, shifted his weight, testing his shoes. "We'll make it through," he said, calm, as if he believed the lie. Luca swallowed hard. The air was thick with the scent of burnt earth, of sulfur and smoke, and the unmistakable metallic tang of blood yet to be spilled. He could feel it coming, the violet shadow of death, lurking just beyond the horizon. The signal came, and they ran. Luca's feet pounded against the ground, his breath tearing through his lungs like fire. Around him, men screamed, steel clashed, cannon fire roared. The world was chaos, but Luca didn't care. He ran. He ran as if the very hounds of hell were nipping at his heels. Jacopo was beside him, those cursed shoes kicking up dust. Luca kept his eyes forward, but in the corner of his vision, Jacopo was always there, constant, unyielding. Then it came, the explosion. The ground ripped apart beneath them, the air filled with dirt, debris, and the acrid stench of death. Luca was thrown back, the world spinning in a disorienting blur of color and sound. When he hit the ground, everything went still, too still. For a long moment, there was only silence. No war, no screams, no death, just silence. Luca blinked, dazed, his vision swimming. And then he saw him, Jacopo, lying in the dirt, motionless. His shoes, those damn shoes, still tight, as if they could have carried him out of this nightmare. Luca crawled toward him, his limbs heavy, his hands trembling. "Jacopo," he whispered, voice breaking. "Jacopo." But Jacopo didn't move. His chest was still, his eyes empty.
Luca's breath caught, the scent of burnt sienna filling his lungs like a suffocating weight. The world blurred, colors bleeding together in a nightmare he couldn't escape. He pressed his hands to Jacopo's chest, but it was no use. He was gone, like so many others. And Luca knew then that he had been wrong. The war wasn't over, but never would be. It would haunt him through his dying breath.